Jazzcast Pros.
Hey there, my graceful grinders. This is Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion. Today we are going to be talking about Black girls and our hair. How is natural hair perceived in the workplace in comparison to our artificial, unnatural, or weave, extensions, whatever you want to call it? Do you think natural hair is fully accepted in professional settings, or do Black women still face pressures to conform to Eurocentric standards in the workplace? And I have professional hairstylist and author of Intentional Curls, Ms. Dominique Curry. She's been a hairstylist for 8 years, but she has been specializing in natural hair for 5 years. She is currently in the process of opening up her own salon. And she says that she does this because she's been in the position where she wasn't comfortable in her own skin, and she just wants to help other Black girls embrace their Black girl magic and become comfortable in their own skin as well. So please give a warm welcome to Ms. Dominique. Hey there, Ms. Dominique.
Hey, okay, that was a nice little intro. I feel like when people go to Club Shay Shay and maybe he run down the whole list. I was like, okay, look at me.
Honey, that's you. That's all you. Welcome to Grace and Grind, the podcast redefining what it means to act like a lady, but think like a boss. All while helping female professionals navigate the intricacies of the workplace with poise, confidence, and grace. So yes, we're going to talk about Black girl hair, and this is a topic that is kind of near and dear to my heart. As you see, I love, absolutely love. I don't know who created weave, but I wish I could hug and kiss them, okay? Because I absolutely love my hairs, as I call it, okay? But we're going to be talking about natural hair today. Do you think natural hair is fully accepted in professional settings, or do Black women still face pressures to conform to Eurocentric standards in the workplace?
I definitely think it's relaxed over the years, just like most things like racism, like little microaggressions. Do you know what I mean? About our hair. The fact that we still got to have legislation to pass for us to actually wear our hair in certain professional spaces. I think there's still room for growth and acceptance. But I think that the trajectory of where we're going, it's going to get there.
Yes, wonderful. You know what? I'm praying and I'm hoping that it does as well. And while I believe in being able to express yourself in your own way, in your own look, I just wish some people would be a little neater with the presentation of wearing natural hair, because you don't have to look like, to me, you don't have to look like you just rolled out of bed and you just walked on the street. So I'm all for natural hair. I'm actually growing my hair out because I'd like to wear a natural style, but I know how I want it to look, but it will be polished. And I can't get with, the young people with the look where it's just like they rolled out of bed. What do you think about that?
Well, I feel like there's been a lot of miseducation on how to manage and care for our hair, which is why I wrote my book called Intentional Curls. I have a son that's 18 and he's in college, and he's keep calling me and be like, "Ma, how do I do this?" And I'd be like, "Well, da-da-da." But then I was like, I've never actually shown you how to do it. So nobody's actually ever set us down and told us how to manage our hair. There's got those old wives' tale where they're like, don't wash your hair because dirty hair make it grow. But in actuality, our hair is naturally dry. So if we don't wash it, dry things break. That's why a lot of us don't have a lot of retention. Our hair grows, but it breaks at the same rate. So I just feel like it could be an element of it is that there's a miseducation and people aren't being taught how to do so. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So where do we get this education? You watch your parents do your hair when you're younger. You know they're up there doing something. But like you said, is there actually a sit down and say, okay, let me show you the proper way to do your hair?
Talk about it, but there's no education on it. We don't have a lot of representation for us in a lot of places. And the ones that we do, it's maddening. Like if you go on YouTube, like they had me out here putting mayonnaise on my hair back in the day. Okay. So I just think
I think we all did that.
Right. And I think it's a lot of the blind leading the blind. So there's nobody sitting down and teaching us that, which is why I wrote my book. So after you understand the science of your hair, then you know what your hair needs based on what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what you mean by we're not being taught, right? We're not being
Exactly.
taught about the science of our hair, because if we understood, then we would care for our hair. When you know better, you should do better. Yes, yes, yes. I was speaking with one of my friends the other day. I combed out my, I wear braids underneath, a protective style underneath my wig. And so I was combing out my hair, and I have a decent amount of hair, but it's very prickly and it breaks.
Because
It's
it's
soft, but
dry.
it still breaks.
Hmm.
And it's at the ends is very fine and it tangles really badly. And I was saying to him, I really need to go and have my hair washed, at a salon, but I always have to comb my own hair out because when I go, the stylist usually starts in the middle of my hair, in the middle of the strand, trying to comb out the tangles at the end instead of starting at the end and working your way up. And I think that's a huge lesson that we should maybe learn, teach, adopt, that you start combing out your hair at the ends and not at the root. Like my mom would say, I got to get to the root of it. I got to comb it at the root. And
Right.
she would start here and to comb out, and it would hurt so badly.
Again,
But that's
miseducation.
because she was combing it incorrectly. Right.
Right. So
Right.
nobody, so that's the blind leading the blind leading the blind. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in hair school,
Yes.
I know for a fact they don't teach textured hair at all. All the education I've gotten is extra education that I paid for after school. And then me working on curly hair 40 hours a week. And I don't just mean certain types. I mean from everything in between. Do you know what I mean? So I've seen some stuff. So I've learned over trial and error a lot of things that were being counterproductive to it and then not being taught. So these stylists are going in there and working on hair, and we're like, oh, we know how to do this because we got that hair. But nobody showed us that. And then the school isn't teaching that. So it's just a lot of miseducation, I feel like. I feel like there needs to be. I'm only one woman. I'm trying to do my best. But
Right.
that's what it is.
So true. So true. Now, do you believe that relaxed hair or straightened hairstyles are viewed as more professional than natural hair in corporate America?
I feel like it goes back to what you were saying before about how looking messy and not looking messy, right? So I think that the ones that are looking just like they roll out of bed, they just don't care for how they present themselves, right?
They
So
give it a bad name.
right. So I feel like it's more susceptible in the sense that it's not messy. Do you know what I mean? Or not
Hmm.
all over
I
the
do.
place, right? I've worked at Kodak, Bosch and Lomb, all kind of corporate places where I was the only black brown girl in the place. And I promise you, there's this one lady, she would come to my office every week because, every other day we look something different, right? So she's like, what hairstyle you got today? And I'm like, girl, it's a 20-inch bust out. You know what I mean? Like, but still, it's a fascination, it's a curiosity,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I also feel like there's levels to it because corporate America is a different kind of. You have to present yourself in a certain way, right? Like we all know about code switching and masking. That is a masking factor. But again, if they don't
Right.
know better, they can't do better.
Right. Right. But we actually have to code switch with our hair in some instances.
Absolutely.
We have to code switch with our hair in order to be acceptable in mainstream society, especially if you want to be elevated up the corporate ladder, because you can be held back.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right. You can be held back because you don't have the look
Right.
of someone that belongs in the C-suite. You know what I mean? You don't have the look.
Is it right? No, but that we all know the fact that we have to code switch. We know that in certain spaces we do have to, you know what I mean? Depending on where you want to go, you got to play the game to win the game. You see instantly, you know what I mean? So it's unfortunate, but I feel like we gonna get there.
We're making great strides, so eventually, we may not see it. I may not see, I'm 58. I may not see it in my lifetime, but I do believe that we are a society that is evolving and becoming more acceptable. Let's talk about this good hair. How do you feel about that term? Because I have some stories, honey, about good hair. Do you think that this ideology still affects how Black women chooses to style their hair for work, to make it look like good hair?
I think the younger generation, not as much. Because I remember they'll be like the older generation was like, yeah, she got that water hair. You know what I mean? That hair that hit water on it and it gets slippery. I think we made it a thing in our thing because there's a lot of division and colorism going on. And I definitely think that we should, as a people, try to identify what's going on there. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of self-hate and stuff like that. And once we get to there, then we can have like these deeper conversations because there's a reason why, right? And what's the reason why?
Well, it is historical in our culture that if you were light skinned with good hair, then you would have more opportunities. And so people aspired because that means you were closer to white. If you were light skinned with good hair. And a lot of biracial people back in the day could pass for white, which made them more acceptable in society. And I do believe that some of that still goes on now. I really do
for sure.
believe that. Where people think that if the more light skinned you are, you're better. You can excel more.
That's a whole nother conversation for sure. But I think the younger generation, as far as who got good hair and who don't got good hair, I think that it's more information out there for us to take better care of our hair. It's still not where it needs to be. Because I think 4C hair is just hair that hasn't figured out how to be hydrated. It's not. It just needs to be hydrated.
Now tell us what 4C hair is. What's 4C hair?
Okay. So the typing system was created by Oprah Winfrey stylists back in the 2000s, right? And again, it's just another way to put us in boxes, right? So you got I'm not even going to do the ones because the ones are straight hair, right? So we get to the threes. The threes are the loose Botticelli curlies, more like the Puerto Rican curls, right? And then it starts getting tighter and kinkier. And that's where the levels go up, right? So then 4C doesn't have a specific curl pattern, right? It's just texture. Whereas 4B has more of an S or a zigzag and a 4A spiral curl. And then backwards for that way.
Gotcha. Wow, that's interesting. I just wanted to make sure that people were educated because I know that I've looked on some sites and they were giving all this, 4C, 4B, 3, and I'm like, okay, how do I know which one is which?
But that doesn't really necessarily help. Just because somebody has a curl type like yours, how their hair absorbs moisture is different how your hair absorbs moisture. So it's never set in stone. Do you know what I mean?
So speaking of this good hair, have you ever had a client ask you for a hairstyle that they really didn't want? They were just getting the hairstyle because they felt like it made them more acceptable and because they wanted to fit in the workplace.
I mean, absolutely. We've all hairstylists have had clients that are essentially masking. Do you know what I mean? Like they're trying to assimilate, they're trying to conform to what around them, especially my younger kids, like my biracial kids that they're the only ones with kinky hair in their predominant space. So they want to come in and get their hair straightened. And I'm a hairstylist, I'm not a therapist. So I can only educate them and inform them of how to take care of their hair properly so they can start feel comfortable in their own skin. Because once we establish that comfortable in your own skin, then we can work on the outside part. But I understand that outside is also a factor. So I don't want to negate how she's feeling because being anything in a woman, we're all being scrutinized and judged on everything. So if there's one thing we can do to try to minimize it, but I think the whole debate with straight and natural hair is kind of just, as I'll be 37 this year, I got 3 kids and a dog, right? Baby, I don't got time to be doing no natural hair all the time. So sometimes my lifestyle suggests for me to have straight hair. Do you know what I mean? But it's not coming from a hate or what you call it. But when it does come from a hate, I'm a big advocate for therapy. I'd be like, baby, let's figure out why you feel like that. You know what I mean? We're educating the parents to not continue to push that narrative that, oh, this baby hair is nappy and I don't know what to do with it. Like, let's not talk about like that. Like, let's not put those things in our head already. Or older women that feel like they still got to color their hair because they don't fit. They don't want to feel like they're the old person in the thing because people treat them differently. Like I have one of my ladies say she's not going to stop coloring her hair until she retire. Because again, environmental factors. So we're just made to conform. So depending on how strong you are mentally and emotionally is how you're going to decide how you're going to show up in the world.
I'm so glad you said that because being a professional that helps people to identify their barriers so that they can overcome their barriers, I always want to start from the inside out, right?
Yep.
I always want to find out, how do you feel about yourself? What are you thinking about yourself? What is the thoughts behind this action that you're saying you want to change? Like, where did it come from? What is the real crux of why you are behaving or doing or saying or manifesting whatever? It came from somewhere.
Yep. It's a belief.
Right. It's attached to something that's deeply rooted, in the past. And so once we
Hmm.
can get to that thing, once we can find out, why don't you like the way that you look? Like, who told you something about your hair that it wasn't pretty?
Literally
Who
everything
told you
around
that
us.
someone that had kinky hair? Right. Right. But some of us embrace it more than others. Getting your hair, you and this nappy hair, getting your hair done by the person that loves you most. Oh, I can't stand this nappy hair. Oh,
Hmm.
your hair
It
is
started
too
at
thick.
home.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Gosh,
It started at
I
home.
guess I really didn't think
And
about
then
that
that
till right now.
internalizes, and as you grow up, and then you have society telling you the
Yeah.
same thing. So now we're trying to conform. So I think black hair has elevated so much so from the trauma of that to now we're switching it up daily, where because we don't feel comfortable in our own skin. So we're like, but then it's also a little sprinkle of black girl magic, because the one thing that we can't control is our hair, right? And if this week I'm feeling like I want long hair, I got long hair. I love that we have the flexibility to do so. I love that we have different options. I think if we can figure out what the root is, like if you're doing it for you because you in the middle, you want to feel good with some blonde hair, baby, put that in there. But if you're putting on blonde hair because, you know what I mean, you hate yourself on the inside, or there's some internal things going on, then there's that's the
Yeah.
issue there. But if you want to just switch it up every day, switch it up every day, because that's the only control sometimes all of us have in our life.
For Black women, our hair is like an accessory.
It
You
is.
know, you picking your hair just like you picking your earrings.
Listen, I had locks 2 weeks ago. I had locks 2 weeks ago, girl. I had them for 5 years. I woke up Tuesday and I was like, it gotta go. And period. Then I had to change my whole wardrobe because the short hair didn't go with the whole fit I had on.
Yeah.
Definitely necessary.
Yeah. Definitely an accessory. And one of my girlfriends was going on a cruise a few months ago, and she was like, oh, I got my wig for this, I got my wig. I was like, girl, let me find out your wigs are accessories, because they are.
And they got names.
Honey, listen, Lola never fails me.
Period. Right, because it's the attitude that goes with it. Do you know what I mean? Like we
Absolutely.
turned our trauma into power. But there's still, I feel like the younger generations, they're starting to get to it, but I think that's something that life is going to have to do for them. But then if we add the education early on, I think the internalized hate that we have for our hair won't be, because then we know how to manage it. Then we know how to make it look
I
good.
love
Then we
that.
can have our natural hair and make it sure it's smooth, moisturized, it's not breaking off. So we're not there yet,
Yes.
but we can get there.
Yes, just basic hair care. We need basic hair care education.
Basic.
We really do. And then maybe we won't have to cover it up
Listen, but maybe we will, because black women evolve. We're
because
gonna
we
take
like
one
it.
thing,
Exactly.
right? We're gonna take one thing and be like, let me make it better. That's the black girl magic. We'll get that one thing, let's make it better. So that's not even it, but the education is also important, because you want to keep your hair protected underneath your bust downs, underneath your braids. Like, I love the versatility of it, but it still needs to be protected, so then you feel comfortable when you take it off.
Yes, I love that. That is the key right there. That you don't have to wear a weave or wig. You wear it because you choose to, because you like it.
Because I
But
like
when you take it off, because I like it. Because that's why I wear mine. I love it. You hear me? I absolutely love me some hairs,
it.
honey.
Hmm.
Okay? And if I don't have hair on, somebody take me to the hospital because I am not well. Okay?
Be like, talk to me different when I got my hair done. Okay, talk to
Baby,
me different.
listen, honey. Listen, darling. Listen, darling.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's like my American Express card. I don't leave home without it. Okay? But that's my own personal preference. You know what I'm saying? It's my own personal preference. This goes with my look, my polished look. It's what I like. You know what I mean? It's what I
What do
like.
you want to present yourself to the world? How do you want to present
Exactly.
yourself?
Exactly. I get to choose how I show you me.
Yes.
I get to choose how I show you me.
But then I want the people that don't do it. I want, and again, I don't know. Again, it's got to be something internal. Why are you deciding to show up in outside world any old way? Why do you feel comfortable in yourself doing that? Because when I look good, I feel good. The point every day is to feel good. So if I'm not looking good,
Yeah,
like you said, take me to the hospital, right? So again, that's more, I think, internal issues why people show up in the world not in their best. We're burnt out.
definitely. Definitely. We're burnt out. And then, some of it is generational. This is what I've seen.
Oh, for
This
sure.
is acceptable where, I work with students all the time, and, I talk to them about attire. I
Hmm.
talk to them about hair. I talk to them about hygiene. I talk to them about personal presentation. How do you want to show up? Because all of these things matter, and you don't know where your life is going to be. Barack Obama didn't know he was going to be the first black president when he was a kid. Kamala Harris had no idea that she was going to be the first female black president. She didn't know that,
No, no.
or that she would be running for office. But there's a certain type of self pride that one has to have. If it's your hair, your body, your hygiene, whatever, there's a certain amount of pride that goes into that. And again, miseducation, lack of education. If I haven't seen that,
Right. You don't know. Like if you don't have somebody in your family teaching you how to do these things. And again, nobody's actually sitting us down, telling us step 1, 2, 3, this is why we're doing it. This is how we're doing it in all aspects of life. So, and if you're not around certain things, you won't even know that that's a thing to do because you're only in your environment. So
right,
if in your environment,
right,
everybody wearing bonnets outside and pajamas going to the store,
right,
you're going to do that because that's what you see. So if there's nobody in your life telling you that there's another option or just loving yourself, because when you love yourself, why wouldn't I want to show up?
right,
Why wouldn't I
right,
want to show up?
right, right. And that's why I say it's generational.
Generational, passed down.
Right, passed down. But you can be the one to say the buck stops here.
I think I saw different because I myself was not somebody that had someone to tell me what it was. And I believe it's just exposure to other things, exposure to different things. And a lot of us don't get outside of our little box. So when you do start to get work and get jobs and stuff, you're like, oh, this is what's acceptable. So, you know what I mean? You just, when you get introduced to different things, you start to pull it in and then you're gotta introspect, like, is this gonna, like, how is this gonna affect me? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. I was at one of the area colleges a couple of weeks ago, and I make it a point when I walk into the classroom, I don't say anything. I just walk in. I walk from the door to the desk. It's probably 25, 30 steps. I put my bag down, and then I address the class on day one. On day three, I ask them, what was your first impression when you saw me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were fly. You were about your business. You were a boss. You were on the room. You looked good. You smelled good. Your hair was flowing. All of that. I said, how many words? How many words did I say?
But you picked up on
You
all of
didn't say one word.
it. Mm-hmm.
I spoke volumes. I didn't say one word. And I
Yeah.
think from our hair right down to our shoes
Period.
that we have to be more conscientious, right? More conscientious about the way that we're showing up, because people have perceptions about you, about your appearance.
Already, right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I was in a class, and one of the women said, I dress the way I want to be addressed. And I think that goes along with the hair too, because you can be immaculately dressed to the nines, but then you have bedhead.
Right. It don't make sense.
Right. It doesn't go together,
That's a
right?
lot of self stuff. How we're showing up into the world and how we want to be addressed. It's just something that has to start in the inside first. Do you know what I mean? But we also know that these spaces don't allow us to show up in certain ways. So if you want to get access to different spaces, you have to show up to what those spaces need you to show up as. It sucks, but that's what it is. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And you have to code switch into that if you want to be in that room. It's just a fact of life. And it's not giving up your black card if you know you got to show up this way. You got to own it. I tell when I'm teaching workplace development and preparing for interviews, I tell the young people, you can wear your blue and pink hair, but not at the interview. You got to go and get the job first. You got to code switch into your interview persona. And then after you get the job, then you put your blue and your pink in. But
Get
you
in there
have to go
first.
in and look right. You got to get in there first. And it does not mean that you're being fake or phony or turning in your black card because you go in the room appropriately. It does not mean that.
No, because we're gonna show up and show out every
Wow.
time. We're gonna show up and show out
Right. We
every time.
should. Right. Right. So tell me, do you think that that hair discrimination laws like the Crowd Act, do you really think that they are effective in protecting us in the workplace?
I feel like Black women are the least protected group of people in this United States. So no, I don't think so. I think we got to fight for our life every day. So that's why you got to show up the way you want people to address you, because people already has no, underlining things that they already have about you. So I just feel like we're not there, but what you going to do? You know what I mean? It's not there to protect us. I think it's there to keep us in a box in some sort of way. Like, I'll let you do this to your hair, but you can't do that. Why does what make you affect you? But that's a whole nother conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Why do we need a law? Why do we even need a law?
Baby, listen, why are we still fighting for rights? Why are we still fighting for rights, for equality? It's
Right.
so much,
Right.
it's so much wrong, but this is what it is right now.
Hmm. So, how do you feel when non-black women adopt our cultural hairdos like cornrows and locks and stuff like that? How do you feel about that as a stylist?
I love the curiosity of it. I get that Black women are trendsetters and everybody want to be like us, right? So I don't necessarily be looking at them like they crazy. I actually take it as a side of flattery, right? So like a compliment, you know what I mean? And I get it. But then there's a difference, again, who that person is, right? Are you doing it to show appreciation, or are you trying
Are
to,
you trying to be down?
yeah, because like,
Yeah, are you trying to be down?
right. Do you know what I mean? So like there's that
Yeah.
difference, right? Like, are you trying to put on, or are you trying to like just sneak one in there? And so I'm like, do it. I get it. We dope. You know what I mean? We dope, but like, don't be messy. Don't be messy.
Right.
Don't be messy.
Question. Have you ever had someone non-black ask you, "Oh my gosh, can I touch your hair? It's so beautiful. I just want to touch it." And before you can respond, they're already in your hair. Have you ever had that experience before?
I feel like we all have to a certain extent, and it's flattering and uncomfortable. But I'm a grown woman. I'm not a child or animal. So I'd be like, no, you cannot pet me. That is kind of weird and strange. And I need you to understand that you shouldn't be going around telling people that. Like, I was in the line at Dunkin' Donuts one day and I had my big fro out because I'd be like, I'm going to show up regardless. And he went to reach it. And he was like, oh, you had something in your hair. I was like, oh, okay, get it out. But don't do that no more. Don't do that no more. Who raised y'all to be out here touching people without consent? What happened to 6 feet?
Right. Right.
What happened?
And see, I'm kind of respond to the curiosity. I used to, really not like it, right? But then I start to think if I have a space here where I can educate, and is it really education? I don't know, but it does answer the question of curiosity. Like, what does that feel like? It looks heavy. It looks like it may be hard. And I've been asked, I don't know how many times, especially when I wear my faux locks, can I touch your hair? And it's so beautiful. Can I touch it? Or I can see when people really want to touch it, but are afraid to ask.
I get it. It's curiosity, but it's still weird that you
Yeah.
want to touch somebody's hair. And the gag is they be wearing weave too. Do you know what I mean? And gatekeeping, like, if we didn't let them know about weaves, you think they was going to have some weaves in their hair? So when they come up and ask me, can I touch your hair or do, ooh, no. Let's learn boundaries. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get curiosity, but we also live in 2024 where if you wanted to know something, you could have Googled it. You don't have to wait till you get that close to one of your black friends and then be like, can I ask you all the questions I've been wanting to ask black people? I believe in gatekeeping.
You know, for me, I want to help to educate. I want to help to educate so there is some type of understanding.
They're not going to understand us regardless. Like, I don't go out to correct anybody, but I'm also not out here to educate anybody because we're living in a world of information at the palm of your hand. If there's something you wanted to know, there's 1,000 videos on YouTube, TikTok that they could find out. So the curiosity, it just doesn't seem genuine to me. It just doesn't seem genuine to me. It seems like you've never been around any colored people, and I feel like we're everywhere. So the fact that you don't have enough black people around you to know the difference, I think you should figure out why that is. Do you know what I mean?
And I think that's why I don't mind educating because, you know, people may not have a black girlfriend that can say, no, sure, go ahead, touch it. It's very soft. It's like, oh, it feels different than I thought. I'm like, yeah, okay. It's, you know,
But what did they learn? That it was soft? That's what I'm saying. I don't like it. It seems sinister.
I'd rather educate you so that you have facts versus assumptions about what it is. So if you had this thought in your head where it's hard, it's heavy, once you touch it and you feel like that's light, that's bouncy, that's behaving, you know, once you touch it and you realize that it's not heavy, it's not harsh, then it has changed your, not just your, it's no longer perception. Now you have knowledgeable information that is now fact. The curiosity should be gone because I've just helped you with that. So I think that's why I do it because I'd rather you learn it from, if you want to know about black hair, ask a black person.
But what are they going to do with that information? I say stay confused. What you going to do? You going to do somebody black hair? You going to adopt you a black baby? Like, every person I've ever allowed to touch my hair, they'd be like, oh my God, it's so soft and fluffy. So where does that perception or that belief that it isn't soft? Do you know what I mean? Like, they're
Mhm,
trying to prove something that
mhm.
they've heard or seen. And I just don't got the time to be trying to teach grown people. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's move along.
All right. So what advice would you give to a young black woman and she wants to start out in this, she wants to embrace her natural hair and retire her wigs, but she has fear about it because she thinks it's going to limit her opportunities.
Shameless plug, get my book, dimearoundtown.com is my website because I actually break things down in a very step by step, straight to the point. I'm not a buller. You know what I mean? So you here to learn how to do your hair. This is going to teach you. But I just say get water in your hair, baby. Everything on the information on the internet, it is out there, but you got to learn how to decipher what it is because nothing has been created with black women in mind.
Yeah. The water thing in our hair, that thing.
So that's more so porosity. So the reason why our hair takes a long time to absorb the water, you know how you hit it with water and it's still fluffy and wet? That's because the
Hmm.
porosity of your hair is so low. So with our texture hair, it's fine. We just have high density or some have medium or
Hmm.
low density. So
Right.
that fine strand of hair and the cuticle is so close that when you try to get water in it, it won't penetrate. We're trying to get it saturated. Most of the time, we're just getting our hair wet. We have to actually get our hair saturated. So I know that saturated things don't feel rough. So when our hair is wet and it's still rough, it's not saturated. So I think that is going to be a huge key for a lot of us in our hair is that the fact that we can get our hair saturated with water. It's going to go limp. If your hair's still poofy.
What about swimming? We don't want to go swimming because we don't want to get our hair wet. We don't want to go out in the rain because we don't want to get our hair wet.
Well, naturals don't necessarily have that issue, right? Because, you know what I mean? It's natural in its natural state. Braids, locks, they don't really need that. It's just us when we're looking cute with our 21 bust down. We're not about to get in the water and mess it up because we knew how much it was going to take to get it there in the first place. But getting your hair wet is
Oh
just
my
getting it
God.
wet. Like, the water has chlorine, the water has salt. Wash your hair afterwards. A quick tip to help with that is wet it down, put cheap conditioner on it, so then it won't be so bad when you get out of the water. So it just depends on what's going on there. Like, and I think that's back to society too, telling us like, oh no, I can't get my hair wet. But the real reason Black women don't want to get her hair wet is because you know how long it take to get to whatever it is we got. That's why we don't want to get it wet.
Right. That's the thing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That is the thing right there.
It is just self-preservation.
Right. I was at the hairdresser for 8 hours.
Baby, you're not about
I'm not getting this hairdo has to last me for 2 weeks.
About to sleep like this.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I remember in middle school and high school, there were a lot of girls who was like, oh, my mother said I can't get my hair wet.
Right.
I was one of those girls. If you know you got that fresh press and curl Easter Sunday, you better not go to school on Monday. Listen, you're gonna wear this till you can't wear it anymore.
We've been trying to just get our hair to submit for a long time, and now we're trying to figure out how to get it hydrated. Get it hydrated, baby. I promise you, it'll never not.
I love that.
It'll never not work.
I love that. Yeah, we've been trying to get our hair to submit. I love that.
Yes. Hydrate it, love it, pour into it.
Let me ask you this question that I ask all of my guests that come on the show. You are aspiring to open up your own salon, and I'm sure that there is a certain type of hustle and grind that goes into making that happen to achieve that goal. And I'm sure you have a lot of obstacles and barriers in the way while trying to achieve the goal. How do you stay graceful and elegant and feminine in the process of going through these hardships of trying to establish your own salon?
I am a firm believer that I am going to get everything that I want. And all it takes is patience, because I have the work ethic. I know how to do research, and I'm going to get it done. Right. So it's just that Black woman perseverance. Like when my mind is set on something, it's set on it. But then I also don't want to burn out either. So there's balance. Right. So I have kids in a home that I want to do, but I also have these bills and a business that I have to do it. So carving out time, being organized, understanding how my money is working, coming in, how it's going out, and also just doing everything with my heart. Because if I give with my heart, it's never going to not return back. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So balance,
absolutely.
Knowing things, you know what I mean? Being organized, taking time for yourself, pouring back into me and not always into other people. That's what it is.
I love it. I love it. I thank you so much for coming and just gracing us with your presence here at Grace and Grind. I so appreciate you.
Thank you.
I mean, in a moment's notice. Oh my gosh. I feel honored to have shared this space with you today.
Thanks for having me.
And you are wise beyond your years. I must say that.
Thank you. I actually get that a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you do. Great conversation.
Thank you.
All right, my graceful grinders, that's all we have time for today. Don't forget to run out and get Dominique Curry's book, Intentional Curls, and hit her up on the website at domaroundtown.com to get all of your hair care needs questions answered. I thank you so much for joining the Grace and Grind podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Brown-Grinion, and until next time, and always remember to create your totally unique day on purpose.